We're going to kick off the show with my very first guest, who has spent his entire career dedicated to upholding and defending the law. I am so proud of him. I thank him for everything he's done. Now, between his background in law enforcement as an attorney, as a lawyer, as a police officer, and now a judge, Daniel's courage and desire to help others has always been a driving force behind everything he's done. He has faced countless battles on the street and in the courtroom, but his largest battle came last year when he was diagnosed with ALS. Please welcome Daniel Schmidt. Hi, Dan.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm just fine.
And I know you already told me this, so I'm just going to let everyone at home watching know that you are still working, you're still a judge, and you were in court all day long, so you've been talking all day, so your voice is beat. So I'm going to take it easy on you.
Okay.
Or I'm going to try to, at least. I'll try to take it easy on you. Now, you were diagnosed last year, 2020, in the midst of probably the craziest time, at least I've ever encountered since I've been alive. What was it like to be diagnosed with ALS in the midst of this craziness and this global pandemic?
Well, I suppose, first of all, there's probably no good time to be diagnosed, but I assume it had to be worse because the clinics were closed and any assistance you had was virtual by Zoom. I was diagnosed first in Peoria and then went down for a second opinion at Barnes-Jewish at Washington University. And that was in March, and we got the final diagnosis then. But so not being able to go in and see doctors and then talk to them after the several hours of legalized torture they put you through. So yeah, that was weird because you had no contact and you wish you did. But like I said, there's probably no good time to get diagnosed with this.
Yeah, definitely no good. People hear me say this on every episode. This is not a family or a club you ever want to have to be a part of. But once you are, we embrace you with our arms wide open. So speaking of that, just embracing you into the ALS family, how did you find your way to the ALS Association? And what has the Chicago chapter specifically, what have they meant to you?
Well, I was thinking about that. And actually, the ALS Foundation found me. And I think probably through the docs in Peoria. And the first thing I received was a packet of goodies with some eating utensils that would help me eat, and some the Lou Gehrig books like his Man, and then a letter explaining how to contact the ALS Association for help. They've been, just marvelous. You don't know how you do it without them. And as far as helping me line up, a lift chair. And, a year ago when I first got diagnosed, I could walk. But getting up out of a chair was troublesome. So then they helped me with a lift chair and just staying in touch. And the other thing is probably maybe even more important, virtual, but to support groups and being able to talk to other people, even if it's virtual, being able to talk with other people, all different ages that are struck with this. And there's some comfort in that. And so that's been a big help psychologically, and talking to people about how do you deal with this problem, how do you deal with that. It's really great because especially with COVID, you have a tendency to feel all alone.
Well, just get ready because you haven't even this happened for you in the midst of the pandemic, so you haven't even gotten to experience the in-person support groups, right? So get ready for that because you think you feel the love now. Well, just you wait.
Uh,
Just so so many things I want to talk to you about. You were just recently a part of one of this was so huge for us. So we've been talking about this a lot on the last show. There was a huge historic day. Everyone knows Lou Gehrig's. We say his name all the time, but there was Lou Gehrig's day where the every single MLB baseball team came together and celebrated on this day. They celebrated Lou Gehrig's day and raising awareness for ALS. You actually got to go to the game at Wrigley Field when the Cubs were playing home for Lou Gehrig's day. What was it like? What was the atmosphere? What was the aura and the vibe like in that field? Because this was a huge day.
Probably the best day since I've been diagnosed. And everybody was incredible. I mean, I guess, running around in one of these wheelchairs, they know you don't have a broken leg. And so everybody was so kind. But Kendra and Sarah and Mike Trafton and some people were there, and it was fantastic. And shortly before the game, I got a new wheelchair, and I got a grant through the Gleason Foundation for the lift on the grant. And lo and behold, Steve Gleason and family were at the game. His son threw out the first pitch. And I'm sure that the ALS people had, Kendra or others had something to do with this. But in about the fourth inning, Steve Gleason's wife, Michelle, came up to her and talked to Maureen and I. And then about the seventh inning, she came up and said, "Well, I told Steve what you said about him, and he wants you to come down where we are." And so I got to go down and talk with Steve Gleason and thank him personally for what he does. And so that was really special. And you can't explain. And the Cubs won. And so, all in all, it was a perfect day.
I love that. An absolutely perfect day. My dad is a diehard Cubs fan, so I love that you're right there with him. That was a perfect, perfect day. And you got to meet somebody that meant the world to you.
Yeah,
That's
he really, I figured they're not a competitor; they're a companion or association to the ALS Association. But I think people with ALS need to know about the Gleason Foundation because what they can provide that ALS Association and others cannot.
yeah.
They're really amazing.
They work well together. And you know what? We both have this common cause of wanting to make a difference in the ALS community, wanting to help individuals with ALS and getting closer and closer to a cure. So we're on the same team. We're all helping each other out.
Yeah.
Now, you're actually there right now. So you are an hour ahead of us. So you bought a house in Maine. And when you got there was a surprise for you, I hear. So what was the surprise that was waiting for you?
Well, we bought this house about 6 years ago. They call them in Maine. Any house on a lake is called a camp. And this place is no Taj Mahal. It's 100 years old. But I'm looking out at a window at a 30,000 acre lake, and it's just sand bottom. It's beautiful. But we get here, and there are sunflowers growing all over the place. And uh, first, my wife Maureen said, "We need to cut those down." I said, "No, because they collect the bumblebees and later in the season, monarch butterflies." So then, of course, turn the page, I get diagnosed with ALS and find out that's the flower for the ALS Association, which makes me wonder if maybe the sunflowers cause ALS. I don't know.
They would never ever. I think when we talked about this earlier, I feel like maybe they were mind readers and they knew what was coming. And so they were already there, standing strong, supporting you, giving you that love, knowing we're here to help you fight this battle. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I hope that's it.
Mhm. And I'm so glad you didn't let your wife cut them down.
She has surrendered and let me keep them up. So, but yeah, they haven't. They're up, but they haven't bloomed here yet. But I
Oh,
think
okay.
any day now they probably will.
Ooh, I love it.
Summer comes a little later up here than it does in Illinois.
Okay. Yeah, ours are blooming already. My grandpa planted a whole bunch of them in the backyard in honor of the show. And then I have some in my backyard. And darn it, I love animals so much, but I had a stern talking to the squirrels in my backyard because I feed them very, very well. So they have no reason to be ornery, but they chewed the heads off of every single one of the darn sunflowers. So I went out there. I had a little heart to heart with all of them. I hope they listen to me. I told them I feed you enough. I give you all kinds of peanuts and seeds and pizza and all kinds of good stuff. Don't do this to me. So I'm gonna get some more. I'm gonna try it again. And I think they're gonna listen to me this time.
Well, let me know how that goes.
I will. I feel like they heard me. They looked at me, they understood, they stopped what they were doing, they paid attention. I feel like I got through to them. And if not, then I think we're gonna just have to bring the show to you. I think Sam and I, Julie, we're gonna have to pack up and we're gonna have to drive out. We're gonna come visit you in your place and admire all your beautiful sunflowers.
Yeah, they're fantastic because all the bumblebees, first most of the summer, there just be hundreds of bumblebees out here,
Ooh.
and that's cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, another thing that's very cool is I was saying it in your intro. I mean, you truly have spent your entire life serving, helping others. I mean, it's so admirable. I respect you so much for everything you've done. Now, so whether it was, as I said, you either spent your whole career in the front lines with law enforcement or upholding and defending the law as a lawyer and now a judge, did a career built on the strength and courage that you had to have in those professions, do you think that helped you prepare for something like ALS?
Well, I don't know, I'll be honest, but I grew up a dirty Nick kid in central Illinois and a little river town. But I'm not the strongest guy. When I was with guys like Steve Gleason, I couldn't carry his briefcase and or his football, I guess. And the so I deal with it as best I can. And having my wife is a nurse, just recently retired after 42 years as a critical care nurse and clinical educator in a CVICU unit. So Maureen stuff is nails, and that certainly helps matters a lot.
How do you think this has been on her? How has she been handling everything?
I think it's tough on her.
I can imagine. And that's one thing we really try to make people understand. And ALS, it doesn't just affect you, it affects your whole family and everyone that loves you, everyone around you. They're all a part of this journey with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be a pretty heavy load. And so it's tough on both emotionally and physically.
Yeah.
Having to help me get up and things like that. So
Yeah. But I mean, we're laughing. You're not a heavy load, but I mean, it isn't easy. But despite everything, all of there's so much negative that comes with ALS, but there are some really positive things too. Because when we were talking earlier, you had told me that you feel like one of the lucky ones. So with all of this, how could you say that? How do you feel like a lucky one?
Well, first of all, I'll be honest. I don't want to go all Lou Gehrig. I'm not feeling like his man on the face of the earth. I'll grant you that. But you look at Steve Gleason and you look at others. I'm 70 years old. I've got my son raised. Nobody's going on the cheese line when I die. And that brings a lot of peace of mind. I had 69 good years. Uh, the what heartbreaking for me is these people that get in their 30s and 40s and 50s with kids at home. I can't imagine. So, in the sense that I didn't get it till I was 69 years old, and uh, you know, and okay, and my son's raised. I don't have kids at home, and my boy can stand on his own 2 feet. That brings a lot of peace of mind. And so I'm much luckier than, and sometimes it makes me feel guilty when I'll be honest, I'm prone from now and again to have a pity party. And then I look at Steve Gleason and these others and other poor souls that get this in their 30s or 40s or 50s. And then I feel guilty about feeling bad.
Well, that's exactly why we do what we do, because even at 69, it's not fair. I'm gonna keep fighting for this. We're doing things like this, spreading awareness, raising funds, because we're gonna get there. We are gonna get there so that nobody at any age ever has to deal with this, what we're going through.
If I
Not
got,
fair.
I should mention one other thing that you mentioned about the ALS Society. Caught your sunflower hour one night some time ago, and you were interviewing Mike Crafton. Well, in Illinois, we like judges, and when I'm on the third district appellate court, which includes 21 counties, including my county down by Peoria, Tazewell County, and Will. And when I ran, I needed help in Will County. It's the biggest county, most populous. And I was introduced to Mike Trafton, who at that time was a patrolman on the Joliet PD and the head of their FOP. Well, Mike gave me a lot of help because I went to him and I said, "Do you think it'd be a good idea to have one person on the appellate court that knows what it's like? Been out there at 3 o'clock in the morning, having somebody trying to whip your butt," and so he agreed. And but then he gave me all this help, and then I hadn't seen him in 20 years until your show. And as soon as I saw it, I called another friend of mine up in Well and said, "How do I get a hold of Mike Crafton?" And I called Mike, and I said, "I don't know if you remember me, but I remember you with all the help." And so we chatted. And by the way, he was at Lou Gehrig Day, and I got to spend some time with him and plan on meeting with some friends of mine from one of them from Libertyville, where Michael's from, who's going to be here next. And we're going to meet at Mike Trafton's restaurant in Joliet sometime in July. So it was, yeah, I thought, gosh, Mike helped me 20 years ago. And unbeknownst to me, he's out there on the board of the ALS Society, still helping me.
It's
So
like you read my mind. You even beat me to the punch because that's what I was going to bring up next. That we started this show to sort of bring awareness, spread awareness, keep our community together, do something a little fun. We had absolutely no idea that something this cool was going to happen. I remember getting that phone call because Mike called me and then Julie, our executive director, called me. Yeah, I felt so excited to know that our show sort of reconnect people. You talked to him in 20 years by no idea he was part of the chapter. You just happened to catch a show, and boom, you guys rekindled. You got to spend time together. I think and I hear me. Sometimes I'm cutting out, but I'm
Yeah,
just loving on everyone and how we can.
you were cutting out, but now I can hear you.
Good. Okay. You can't get rid of me that easy. Not quite yet. Before we go, I wanted to know because you kind of brought this up when we talked earlier about your lift. So we had talked on the phone before about how important certain equipment can be when you are dealing with ALS. There's so many things that make your life harder. So it's so important for certain equipment that can make your life easier. So specifically, what has your lift meant to you? You said something really cool to me about this.
Well, first thing I'd said is when I have friends over at the house, and sometimes there's guys who are standing around, to be able to get up to eyeball level with them, and instead of sitting in the chair and looking up and then looking down at you, it's like you can forget you're sick for a while. You're just having a conversation, and you're not thinking. You're not doing it from a wheelchair. You're looking at people eye to eye, and you can forget you're sick. You really can. And of course, the other thing, it makes getting up easier. But probably the biggest thing is being able to have conversations eye to eye with people that are standing up in some sense of normalcy.
Yeah. That was so amazing because you said that, and I guess it never actually hit me. It never hit me that something as I don't even want to say simple because it's not simple, but something like just being eye level with somebody can make you forget that you're sick for the moment. That was just amazing. That really stuck with me.
Well, good. It's and like I said, it uh, may seem inconsequential to somebody else, but when you're stuck in a
Yeah.
wheelchair, it means a lot.
Yeah. Well, you have some very exciting things coming up. I don't want to keep you here all night. We want to let you go and rest your voice. But you had mentioned to me, I mean, your son's getting married in a few days. So this is very exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole crowd's due to arrive here in about 2 days, so
Wow.
it'll be game on. And they'll
Uh,
be getting married Monday.
oh my gosh. In the same and he's keeping tradition, right? Because he's getting married in the same area, the same place that you and your wife got married.
That's right. Yeah.
I love it. I'm such a sucker for tradition and sentiment. So I love that. You have so many things, so many amazing things coming up to keep you busy. But I'm so happy you're a part of this family. And thanks for joining us. Is there anything you want to say to everyone before we take it out?
Well, not that I can think of other than I'd say the ALS, because of my job, I can't solicit donations. It's crazy, but I can't. But I can just say both the ALS Association of Greater Chicago and Team Gleason have been just, I don't know what I'd do without either of you.
Well, we love you so much. And yeah, it's for you and for so many other people around the world that are battling this. We're going to keep this fight going. We're going to keep shouting it from the rooftops so that, like we said before, so that nobody has to go through this no matter what the age. Dan, thank you so much. And thank you again for your service and have a blast up there at that wedding. I hope you are just doing circles in your wheelchair, dancing around like crazy.
Yeah, I'll probably bust a move or two in the wheelchair.
Ooh, I like it. I want to be a fly on that wall or one of those bumblebees actually by the sunflower.
Okay.
Well, have fun, bust a move, and enjoy those sunflowers for us.
Well, thank you so much.
See you later.
Bye bye.
Bye.